The United States had won its independence from Britain in 1783. At the end of the Revolutionary War, the Mississippi River marked the western boundary of the new republic. As the original United States filled with settlers, land-hungry newcomers pushed beyond the Mississippi, looking for opportunity. The government helped them by acquiring new territory for settlement. Piece by piece, the United States added new territory. In 1803, President Thomas Jefferson bought the Louisiana Territory from France. The Louisiana Purchase nearly doubled the size of the new republic and extended its boundary to the Rocky Mountains. In 1819, Spain gave up Florida to the United States. In 1846, a treaty with Great Britain gave the United States part of the Oregon Territory. In the north, the nation now stretched from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. Many Americans eagerly supported their country's westward expansion. These people believed in manifest destiny, the idea that the United States had the right and duty to rule North America from Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean. Government leaders used manifest destiny as a way of justifying any action that helped white settlers occupy new land. This included evicting Native Americans from their tribal lands. The Indian Removal Act of 1830 made such actions official policy. This law enabled the federal government to force Native Americans living in the East to move to the West. Georgia's Cherokee tribe successfully challenged the law before the Supreme Court. However, federal and state officials found ways to sidestep this ruling. Like many other Native American tribes, the Cherokees had to move. They traveled 800 miles to Oklahoma, mostly on foot, on a journey later called the Trail of Tears. About a quarter of the Cherokees died on the trip. When the Cherokees reached their destination, they ended up on land far inferior to that which they had been forced to leave. Nor did the trail end there. As whites moved west during the second half of the 19th century, the government continued to push Native Americans off their land to make room for the new settlers. Eventually, the government demanded that Native Americans abandon most of their lands and move to reservations. Meanwhile, the United States had entered a war with Mexico over Texas. When Mexico had gained its independence from Spain in 1821, it included the lands west of the Louisiana Purchase, stretching from Texas to California. Many American settlers moved into these areas, with Mexico's acceptance. Some settlers were unhappy with Mexico's rule, however. The largest number of American settlers were located in the Mexican territory of Texas. In 1836, Texans revolted against Mexican rule. For 9.5 years, Texas was an independent country. Then, in 1845, the United States annexed Texas. Mexico responded angrily to what it believed was an act of aggression. Between May 1846 and September 1847, war flared between the two countries. In bitter fighting, U.S. troops captured Mexico City and forced Mexico to surrender. As part of the settlement of the Mexican-American War, Mexico ceded or gave up possession of territory to the United States. The Mexican cession included California and a huge amount of territory in the Southwest. A few years later, in 1853, the Gadsden Purchase from Mexico brought the lower continental United States to its present boundaries. America's westward expansion raised questions about what laws and customs should be followed in the West. Ever since the nation's early days, the northern and southern parts of the United States had followed different ways of life. Each section wanted to extend its own way of life to the new territories and states in the West. The North had a diversified economy with both farms and industry. For both its factories and farms, the North depended on free workers. The South's economy, on the other hand, was based on just a few cash crops, mainly cotton. Southern planters relied on slave labor. The economic differences between the two regions led to a conflict over slavery. Many Northerners considered slavery morally wrong. They wanted to outlaw slavery in the new Western states. Some wanted to abolish slavery altogether. Most white Southerners believed slavery was necessary for their economy. They wanted laws to protect slavery in the West so that they could continue to raise cotton on the fertile soil there. The disagreement over slavery fueled a debate about the rights of the individual states against those of the federal government. Southern politicians argued that the states had freely joined the Union, and so they could freely leave. Most Northerners felt that the Constitution of the United States had established the Union once and for all, and that it could not be broken. Conflict between the North and South reached a climax in 1860 when Abraham Lincoln was elected president. Southerners fiercely opposed Lincoln, who had promised to stop the spread of slavery. One by one, Southern states began to secede or withdraw from the Union. These states came together as the Confederate States of America. On April 12, 1861, Confederate forces fired on Fort Sumter, a federal fort in Charleston, South Carolina. Lincoln ordered the army to bring the rebel states back into the Union. The U.S. Civil War had begun. 4 years of fighting followed, most of it in the South. Although the South had superior military leadership, the North had a larger population, better transportation, greater resources, and more factories to turn out weapons and supplies. These advantages proved too much for the South to overcome. In April 1865, the South surrendered. The United States had survived the toughest test of its democracy. From the beginning of the war, Lincoln declared that it was being fought to save the Union and not to end slavery. Lincoln eventually decided that ending slavery would help to save the Union. In late 1862, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring that all slaves in the Confederate States were free. At first, the proclamation freed no slaves, because the Confederate States did not accept it as law. As Union armies advanced into the South, however, they freed slaves in the lands they conquered. The Emancipation Proclamation also showed people in Europe that the war was being fought against slavery. The proclamation made many Europeans, especially the British, less sympathetic to the South. They did not send the money and supplies that the South had hoped they would. In the aftermath of the war, the U.S. Congress passed the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which forever abolished slavery in all parts of the United States. Soon after, the 14th and 15th Amendments extended the rights of citizenship to all Americans, black or white, and guaranteed former slaves the right to vote. From 1865 to 1877, Union troops occupied the South and enforced the new constitutional protections. This period is called Reconstruction. After federal troops left the South, white Southerners passed laws that limited African Americans' rights and made it difficult for them to vote. Such laws also encouraged segregation, or separation of blacks and whites in the South. African Americans continued to face discrimination in northern states as well. Decades passed before African Americans made significant progress towards equality with other citizens. While the South struggled to rebuild its shattered economy, the United States as a whole experienced a period of industrial expansion unmatched in history. The need for mass production and distribution of goods during the Civil War greatly speeded America's industrialization. By 1914, the United States was a leading industrial power in the world. Industrialization could not have occurred so rapidly without the tremendous contribution of immigrants. During the 1870s, immigrants arrived at a rate of nearly 2,000 a day. By 1914, more than 20 million people had moved to the United States from Europe and Asia. Many settled in the growing industrial cities of the Northeast and Midwest. Others staked their claims in the open spaces of the West, lured by government offers of free land. As settlers moved west, so did the nation's rail system. In 1862, Congress had authorized money to build a transcontinental railroad. For 7 years, Chinese and Irish immigrants, Mexican Americans, African Americans, and others did the backbreaking labor. They dug tunnels, built bridges, and hammered down the heavy steel tracks and wooden ties. When the Transcontinental Railroad was completed in 1869, railroads linked California with the Midwest and eastern United States. By 1900, nearly 200,000 miles of track crossed the nation. This massive system linked farm to city and boosted trade and industry. For one thing, the railroads bought huge quantities of steel. Also, trains brought materials such as coal and iron ore to factories and moved the finished goods quickly to market. They carried corn, wheat, and cattle from the Great Plains to processing plants in St. Louis, Chicago, and Minneapolis. These developments helped to make the United States a world leader in the great explosion of technological progress that marked the late 19th century.